Alright, this piece was not very straight. It had two bends, and this side was bent this way, this side was bent up the other way. So I'm going to back off the tailstock and see what it's doing. Yeah, it's got a little bit of vibration. So we might be able to get a shorter one out of this, so we'll keep going. Alright, quite a bit of vibration up till about here. We'll make a 4 1/4 out of this. So we're going to be using my 40 grit chisel to shape this. Alright, so we're turning hard maple. So there's a black line there, so we probably have... Okay, there's an inclusion there, but it is solid, so we should be all right. Hey, Experiment, how's it going? Welcome in. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. It's Friday. Can't complain. Leviosa. Yeah, they don't work. See how bad that one is? We'll try it. I'm in Wisconsin, actually. But pretty close. Nothing much. Enjoying the heat wave. 9 degrees. Oh, it's beautiful. Yep, I'm in North Fond du Lac. $10 p.m.? Yeah, and for about 12 hours. We just signed up for a show in Chicago in May. Don't really have the details. I think it's May 1st through the 3rd. It's over by the big airport. There's a Fond du Lac in Minnesota as well. This one sucks as well. Kind of knew that starting. Hey Jury, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, we do a fiber show in Minnesota. Shepherd's Harvest. It's in... Oh, man. I gotta look. Let's see. Right. It's in Lake Elmo. I didn't know Elmo had his own lake. Pretty impressive. On the res, nice. The res is ice proof, right? Well, you're sovereign. But when do rules matter, right? Yeah. Yeah. The government doesn't have a very good track record, do they? I don't know. Things are supposed to... Oh, I'm making drop spindles for spinning yarn. So this is what one looks like when it's done, and this is the yarn that I've spun on it. So we're making the shafts. Yeah. Yeah, it just seems like rules and laws really don't apply anymore. This is a shame. But things are supposed to be settling down, right? Minnesota. Very true. So yeah, we are turning hard maple, by the way. So we're changing that into that. So we're using a story stick. So this just has lines on it. These have numbers, but you don't need to worry about the numbers. And you just transfer the lines over. It's just a really quick way of duplicating things. So these are the last three that we made. So pretty similar. I'll walk through this one. You know, mainly it's an ASMR stream. Like, people like the noises of the equipment, but I'll walk through what we're doing. We're going to start with a rough and gouge, which is really good at taking off a lot of material. Doesn't leave a good finish. And I'm going to use this wrench as a caliper. As long as it slides over, we're good. Yeah, I hope so. I hope it doesn't take another 3 years. Alright, fingers crossed. We have a winner. The lathe is running at 3,629 RPMs, and it looks nice and straight. So when we finished up with the roughing gouge, we went to another gouge. This is a spindle gouge. So it's much splatter. It takes off less material, but it leaves you with a better finish. So we're on size. This is my test whirl. So this is where the bottom of the whirl is going to sit. So here's one that's put together. So that's this location right here. You know, Xenos, I do not disagree with you at all. So I put my test whirl on here, and this is called a story stick. Here's another example. I make these cutouts so I can register it against this. You know, you don't need that. You know, it could be anything with lines on. So yeah, this is for when I make my Russian support spindles. So there's no notch because there's no whirl on those. Anyways, regardless, I transfer them over. That way they'll all be the same. If that makes sense. So on the bottom here we have 2 beads. We're actually going to be using a beading tool. It's just a V shape. You could use a skew and go in from both sides if you wanted to. This is just quicker. Now, this is the diameter is getting kind of small. You can see I can bend it while it's spinning. So I'm going to support it when I use this, when I put it in. So I'm going to put it in, I'm going to wiggle it back and forth a little bit. If not, if I didn't support this, this would have a lot of chatter because it would flex and would vibrate. And that vibration would make lines that we don't want. So I'm going to support it, bring it in, give it a little wiggle, which will clean up any chatter that might have happened. Oh, I cannot complain. I've been doing this full-time this is my 13th year. Prior to that, I worked in factories for almost 20 years, so I'm very happy. Now we're going to take our skew, and we're going to lay out the finial that's on top. And then underneath the finial is going to be shorter, so I'm going to define that. Now we're going to blend these 2 lines together. So there's not a straight line on here, everything is tapering. So I burnt those lines in with some wire. This is just picture frame hanging wire. A lot of people use guitar strings. I just put little handles on it, so I've got a garrote, so something to hold on to. And I put a magnet on this so I can stick it to my lathe, so it's always there. So now we're to the fun part, which is sanding. So we started with the medium grit, we'll go to a fine grit. Then we'll take some wood chips and we'll burnish the surface. So think of burnishing like a friction polish. You know, it makes it go from 220 grit, probably in the 5 to 600 grit range. It's very smooth now. I'm going to take some paste wax as a protectant. I mean, if you wanted to, you could add like shellac or something afterwards. But this is a quick way of doing it. It gives it protection. The majority of these are going to be end up used for spinning wool, so that lanolin will transfer over to help hydrate the shaft anyway. But paste wax is nice. It'll harden up. Now, we did everything that we could between centers. So it's clamped in a 4-jaw chuck on this side. And then we have a live center here, which is just a pin that's sticking through. And they call it live center because it's actually spinning. It's got a bearing in it. They do make dead centers, which are used more in metal work, where it doesn't spin. Regardless, we're going to cut off the top now and form the finial. And because we're clamped in the 4-jaw chuck, it will stay here. Now I can back off the tailstock and we'll sand this out. Same thing, medium grit, fine grit, burnish, and then wax. So the only thing that's left is actually cutting it off. So I had a line there. That line is going to be the bottom of the spindle. So we're going to come up with the skew and we're just going to make some pairing cuts while I'm supporting it. So the lathe is spinning at 3,629 RPMs. So it's going to go from over 3,500 RPMs to 0 in like milliseconds. Okay. It's hard to see, but it's spinning super fast. And there it is. So it's just kind of rinse and repeat. Much better. We did it. So I am running out of shaft material. I have these 13-inch long, half-inch thick hard maple. I have more in order. I got an email today saying the order shipped, so I should have a bunch hopefully early next week. So I still got like 50, and then I can make an infinity of little ones. Smallest ones I make are 4 1/4 inch, and when I cut out a smaller shaft on this material, I got enough to make a little one. We got enough to keep busy. Plus, I have a whole bunch that need to be cut on the scroll saw as well. So you might wonder why I sand it, even though I got a lot more to go. I'm sanding out this taper here. That taper is what locks the spindle in. So I'm spending a little extra time looking at that taper here, because I want it to grip. Yeah, it's kind of weird, you know. Spinning yarn used to be a profession. It was something that women had to do. Primarily unwed women had to spin. And early America, you actually had to spin X amount to give to the government, I believe. So the women that spun yarn were called spinsters. And, you know, so if they got married, they were no longer a spinster. So that's where that term came from. But yeah, it's like things that used to be chores. Now that you don't have to do them, you know, if they're a hobby thing, then it's great. You know, we've been spinning yarn since at least the Neolithic times. You know, and being able to, you know, make yarn and rope, you know, it opens up a lot of possibilities, you know, for food. You can make nets out of it. You know, also you make sails out of it as well. So, yeah, it's boring, but it's like, you know, it's kind of what makes us human. You know, it's one of the first simple inventions. Simple machine. Very early simple machine. It's got a shaft and a flywheel. So even here in Americas, there was quite a few different spindles that were used. You know, before white man even got here. But it's kind of weird how the spindles have evolved on, you know, they're a tool. So depending on what fiber you're spinning, you need different shapes tools that work differently. So we all kind of figured it out on our own. So this style that I'm making, I call Turkish. But, you know, this size here would be kind of more Turkey, kind of more Mediterranean. It's smaller. A lot of the Turkish ones are really big, because they were using really coarse fiber. So this size here, you know, it's good for, you know, it's a drop spindle, so it dangles in the air. So you don't want really short fibers. This would not be good for cotton, but it'd be very good for wool, alpaca, goat, cashmere, hemp, spider silk, depending on how, you know, we actually call the really thin yarn silk, or cobweb. When we're spinning really thin silk, or anything really thin, we call it cobweb or lace weight. You can only harness spider silk. That stuff is so strong. Making sweaters out of hemp? Need one of them? Yeah, that'd be sweet. Hemp is just such a super fiber. Oh, yeah. I might. If you want to drop me a line at Snyder Spindles, you know, at Gmail. That would be great. I'm not willing to be the tester, though. Not practical. Spinning yarn is zen. Oh, the switch. There you go. Yeah. It'd be kind of like wearing the heavy armor on Rust, trying to run on it. Yeah, I know I mentioned it earlier, but we just picked up a show in May. A 3-day show in Chicago. Oh boy. I'm preparing for the show in March. We'll see. Your son plays Rust? Oh, that's such a brutal game. Oh. I suck at Rust, I really do. I've had it for umpteen years. He'd be 18? Well, that's a perfect age for him then. Because, oh. You know, if you got friends that play with you, you know, that's great. But if you're a solo, sometimes it's just depressing. You never get to do any of the fun stuff because you have to hide so you don't get killed by clans. I like the thought of Rust, but no, I'm horrible at it. Starting Warframe? Not familiar with it. I don't do a whole lot of gaming. Hey DH, how's it going? Welcome in. So I did a review on Harbor Freight scroll saw, and then I did a 7.5 month review because I missed the 6 month because I was busy. So the 7.5 month review video, Harbor Freight put on their website. So if you look at their Bauer scroll saw, and they have a customer video, and there I am. I didn't even know they did that. I got called out. I said something in a Facebook forum, and they're like, "You sound like that guy on that video." So I had to go check it out. I'm like, holy cows, I am that guy on that video. You can't be when you're making magical wizard wands for Hogwarts, exactly. Winter is coming. Oh, wait, that's a different franchise. I used to actually make one a long time ago. Now I just make wands for people who want to make their own yarn. Yeah, have a good one. Thanks for hanging out. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so I just started making these. This one needs a lot of sanding. I got it a little bit more honed for now, but I think it's pretty cool. A little catch-all and put your stuff in there. It kind of depends on the size of the wood. I mean, something like that, you should be able to find somebody local, because just the price of shipping would be horrible on that. Yeah, so before I was making these, I was selling on Etsy as just as a fun thing to do, a hobby. And for that, I started selling, oh, you want me to do it on stream? Does it matter how big it is? Because I can do that. All right. Yeah, she's in out of office message or something. Yeah. Okay, that should be fun. We'll see how that works. Can I say it? Hang on a second. Can I put you on camera for a second? Yeah. Look at stupid Meg. Got my very own Meg. I love you, honey. Sorry about that. Alrighty. That one's running good. So I was going to do this for about another half hour, but I also have a bunch of scroll sawing to do. If you guys would rather watch the scroll sawing, I can do that. It's up to you. First person to comment wins. 1, I stay here. 2, I go over to the saw. All right, we'll finish this one up and we'll go. All right. How big is the piece of wood you want? Let me finish this one up. All right. So just to make sure, so are you looking for a name like in this style here, or do you just want a name laser engraved on a piece of wood? Laser? Okay. Come over here. Piece of wood here. All right, I'm gonna have to cut this. Close enough. All right, I'm gonna have to grab a tripod. I think I got one over here. Yeah, almost a tripod. All righty. Oh, well, that is stupendous. Come on, come on. How did the filter get turned on? There we go. All right, well, what's the name you need? Somebody wants their buddy's name laser engraved on a piece of wood.
Okay. Just a plain piece of wood?
Yeah.
Huh. All right then. Well, that's cool.
Sam Kroll, I gotcha. Man, if I can just read. Oh. All right, I'm going to be using this laser, if that's okay. I could do it on the other one. This was just closer.
Probably easier to see too.
Yeah. All right, let's this in here. Let's look here. I don't know, as far as the font goes. All right, put the wood down here. Sorry about that. Set the focus. So you have to take those two dots and then just make them one. Actually, let's does that look all right? I hope so. So we're going to see how it fits on the wood. So we're going to do a frame. So I'm just resizing it. I want it to be as big as I can get on this wood. Yeah. So that is as large as we can make it. Now we can turn it on to outline so it'll show where the letters are going. Let me center that on the wood. You can always trim it up later. Here. All right, so we are going to score. So it's 100% power, and we'll make it 40, nice and dark. And then if you want, we can go in and... Actually, let me grab my glasses, then I can just run it with the door open. All right, so I'm wearing safety glasses. I'm going to turn on my exhaust. And we'll go. It might get a little smoky because the exhaust vent, I have the hood open. Let me lower it a little bit. There you go. And we go. Now we're going to come back here and let's do some engraving on it just to make it a little bit darker on the inside. Then it'll come in and it'll fill it in. So now it's just going to go back and forth. So this is going to take like 2 minutes. Now we could have went the other route and like made a physical box around it. And then have that be, the lettering being white and everything else would be recessed. Another minute and 30 seconds to question all our life choices. Hello, welcome in. Hey, we're almost done. We got 49 seconds. Yeah, that's what the screen looks like. And then it gives you the processing time. So yeah, this is an X-Tool F1. So it's a galvo laser. It's got a galvanometer in it. So it's got two little mirrors that move in both the X and Y axis really, really fast. There we go. I bet you without my glasses on, I'll be less green. So it did inset it. There you go. So if you want this, just send me an email and just remind me what it is. I can just route around it and put a hanger on the back if you want it. I can put a finish on it if you want it. That is up to you. I think that turned out pretty cool.
Nice.
Pretty cool. All right, Meg.
Yeah,
Meg.
right?
Okay. Yeah, it turned out okay. No, it doesn't use much electricity at all. The exhaust probably uses more electricity than the laser. I can run that laser off of a jackery for a long, long, long time. So I can run that on a battery. Which is pretty sweet. Oh, actually, let's go over to the scroll saw. That's what we were planning on. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah, that's only like, I think 5 watt. Not a lot of wattage. I do have a couple 20 watt lasers as well. So we'll look at the lasers for a second. All right. So this one, it's pretty small. It's like I said earlier, it's got a galvo laser, so there's two mirrors. One's going this way, one's going this way, and they just go really fast. So the laser's coming down from a lens in the center. So you really don't want to use this laser to cut things all the way through, because since it's coming out of one lens, pretend the pen is a laser, it's going to cut everything at an angle, right? So I also have this laser. So this is a 40 watt. I'm sorry, I think it said 20 before. They're both 40 watts. So this has more of a gantry where the laser is right here and it'll pass over and move around. So this will cut vertically. As well as this other 40 watt I have over here. This one here, you can tell how much I love it. That is a CO2 laser. So the CO2 laser has a big tube in it, and then the laser bounces off some mirrors and then goes through a lens. So there's 3 different ways. So. Yeah, so for the laser, you know, with that little galvo laser, I'll do things like this. So this is a Turkish spindle, that's a Turkish march. We also do laser engraving on top of spindles. That's the big laser. The big laser can laser engrave on curved objects. So you have to put the item down, and then it uses a probe to measure the height, and then it'll make a map to keep it in focus. Oh. Because if something's bent and the laser doesn't move, you know, the area between the laser and the head will change, so it'll throw the focus off. And it's really dependent on having exact focus. Otherwise, the line starts getting bigger and bigger and fades away. Give me 1 second here. I'm beeping. Oh. All right. All right, so we're going to be cutting out Turkish spindles. We're going to start out with this green wood here. This is vera wood, or it's also called Argentinian ligamente. It's very hard, very heavy, and it's very green. And sometimes you get some feathering in the wood, and it's really pretty. All right, so we got the scroll saw here. We got a number 7 blade on. These are going to be really, really hard on the blade. So I'm starting with a used blade, and we'll probably swap the blade out after we cut these 3 little boards. So. The blade itself is a number 7 Olsen precision ground tooth blade. It's a double skip tooth blade with reverse teeth. Let's get into it. So this is a very oily wood. So you can see how this wood chips are sitting on top of the wood. Now this orange thing right here is a blower, so that's blowing the dust off. But because this wood is so oily, it's kind of gummy and sticky, so it kind of sits on top of your line sometimes. Oh, pre-smoke, not a problem. Yeah, and the email would be snyderspindles@gmail.com. It's very fragrant. It's a pleasant smell. You might be able to see some smoke coming out, and that's just because it's so oily. how pretty that wood is. You can see where the UV's affected it. So this will darken up like that. So we use blue painter's tape, and then we use spray adhesive to glue the pattern onto the tape. That way when we're done, we can just peel the paper and tape right off. And we won't have any residual glue or anything to deal with. You can use spray adhesive directly on the wood, but then you have to use like mineral spirits to dissolve the pattern. And personally, I want to limit the use of mineral spirits as much as I can. Sometimes, you know, if you use something too much, you can get allergic to it, get hypersensitive to it. The tape is more expensive, but it makes your products a lot less flammable when you first do it, because mineral spirits, man, a lot of people use that as lighter fluid. So there's also a technique when, if you're cutting really complicated fretwork, you'll get some tear out on the bottom, and you're going to frame the piece, so you're not going to see the bottom. So some people will take propane torches or butane torches and torch the back real quick just to burn those little fuzzies off, which works great. Unless you use mineral spirits to take the pattern off the top. If you get at that anywhere near flame, even though you think it had plenty of time to flash off, you might have a big flaming piece of fretwork, which kind of lowers the resale value of it a little bit. Plus, you might burn your house down. And you can see here that there's a bunch of writing on this. So we reuse our scrap paper to print patterns on. So it's a good use of, you know, things we don't need anymore. So, you know, I was able to reuse it, and now it will go into the fireplace. So. Yeah, this wood almost has a, almost like a fresh dill kind of smell to it. So yeah, so I'll just use a little piece of scrap wood, hold it like you would a pocket knife. Just a couple stripes to peel that up. My older scroll saws used to have a pretty sharp edge on them, so I just use the edge of the table down here to start the scraping. But these darn new ones are so smooth and beautifully finished. All right. So there we go. Let's do a test fit if it's good. So something like this, it needs to have a nice fit to it, but you can't make it too tight and you can't make it too loose. Otherwise, people will get frustrated by how loose it is. So the reason you need to make it a little bit loose is it's the middle of winter here. It's not very humid at all. You know, hear the furnace in the background. That's just sucking all all the humidity out of the air. So in the summertime, these will swell up. So I am just gonna go a hair wider, which is odd. So I just took about a 1/2 millimeter off each side. Now it fits beautifully. So this scroll saw blade is 0.45 millimeter. So it's just about a 1/2 millimeter. So when I said I took a 1/2 millimeter off both sides, I took one blade width off. Give me 1 second, guys. That is weird. Okay. All right, let's get cutting. I'm sorry about that. All right, I got 2 more. These are the full size. And we're selling the first blade, the blade that was already on the saw. Alright guys, I'm a little worried that the chat's not working. Somebody can just say hi, that would be great. All right, thank you so much. Just realized I'm that boring. Good, good, good. So I do run my scroll saw off a foot pedal. I started doing that decades ago. And the reason for that, just let me get this one done. Let's see if it worked. Thank you guys. Thank you so much. And I totally forgot what I was talking about. Sorry, guys. Oh yeah, it lets me keep both hands on the product. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so using the foot pedal, I can use both hands, capped on here, turn the saw on and off. It's quicker. There's two different types of pedal. There's a dead man, where you put your foot on it and it starts it and runs. And then when you take your foot off, it shuts off. And then there is a power maintain switch, is what I'm using right now. So if I press down, it starts. I can take my foot off. Then when I'm done, click. I mean, you can get them at Harbor Freight for like 15 bucks, even cheaper on Amazon. Either style. I've got both hooked up. So I have both. Right now, the dead man is on my drill press, which is next to me, and I can switch them around if I need to. So the reason I started using them is DeWalt, they're 978. No. Anyways, the DeWalt scroll saw and the Delta scroll saw, their power switches would wear out really easily. It got to the point where I got sick of sending it in to get the thing replaced. I just bypassed the switch on those entirely. So there was just 2 wires, and all you did was I completed the circuit, you know, and just connected those 2 together. And then ran it off a foot pedal. It just made more sense. morning. How's Alan doing today? So we got one more board of this, and then we'll have some red heart and purple heart, and then some black walnut. Good to hear. Very good to hear. So I'm live streaming to try to keep motivated to keep working. So I kind of conceded to the fact that I'm old. So I've always stood while I cut on the scroll saw, or if I was going to sit down, I'd sit on a big tall bar stool. Well, a few months ago, I changed the saw, so now it's at a sitting height, and I have it pitched. It's angled way down, so we could do magic tricks, you know, if you think that's straight. And I'm sitting in a very comfortable computer chair. So I've been scroll sawing since 1987, so I now just want to be comfortable. I do have 2 other saws that are at standing height right now anyway, so if I wanted to stand up, I really could. All right, let's get through this. Yeah, like I said, vera wood, or Argentinian ligamente, which is not related to the wood, the tree ligamente anyway, but they share characteristics. Got a message. Right? We're getting shit done. That's the important part. Yeah, so vera wood's probably probably the heaviest wood I work with. So like this will be the heaviest one of this size. We're gonna swap that blade out. I thought we had one left. All right, so we're gonna go from the precision ground blades to let's go with Olsen Mach Speed. They're like the next step down from the precision ground. They work. And if not, we can put something else on there too. We are making Turkish drop spindles that are used for spinning yarn. So it's what people use before spinning wheels. So this is my day job. So the channel itself, I do a lot of beginner to intermediate scroll saw projects, lathe projects. You know, beginner woodworking stuff is kind of my bread and butter. You know, it's one of those things. When you start getting older, you kind of want to give back, you know? So you should freeze your blades before you use them? So I assume it's hardening them a little bit. Hey, how's it going? Welcome in, S. Right, we're going to cut out this mortise. And that's the nice thing about scroll saws. You can drill a hole and then cut on the inside of the wood. Just sounds cool. There you go. So I typically get a lot of my scroll saw blades from bearwoods.com. They've got, they ship from America and Canada. And they carry Nikwa, which are Flying Dutchman blades, and Pegasus blades. But I really like the Olson PGT blades. But they're really expensive at Menards. They're like twice as expensive as like these here, the Mach Speed blades. But I found that you can actually order them directly from the company. So there's a specific size I really like. I really like the number 7. So I ordered a gross of them. Ooh, David. Gross. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's going to be a little chunky monkey. Yeah, that Bearwood's so heavy. All right, we got 3 more to cut, and then we'll move on to a different type of wood. It's amazing how much the color changes, how it oxidizes like that. So yeah, it's a luxury to be able to use exotic woods. You know, it's just one of those things. People are willing to pay extra money because they want exotic woods. They want something pretty. And, you know, pretty sells. So I do make a lot of beginner spindles. And those are made out of either maple, cherry, or black walnut, which are great domestic woods. So I'm able to keep the prices down on those. Although the walnut is starting to get up there in exotic prices. So I'm verifying that the holes are centered. And then I'll flip the arm over. Just to make sure. Because there'd be nothing worse than a spindle that you had to put together in one specific way. So it's a quality check is all that is. We've gotten a much better process of drilling these days. If you're ever curious about like exotic woods, there's a website called wooddatabase.com, and they have a hardcover book as well. But it's like the Wikipedia of exotic woods. Very informative. It's pretty neat. Of course, I'm a dork that really likes wood, so I might have something to do with it. Have I ever accidentally sliced into my finger? Yes, absolutely. The scroll saw is the safest saw in the workshop. Yeah, you can cut yourself, but the blade's really thin, and it's a reciprocating blade. So it's going to be vibrating, so it's not going to suck you in like a table saw or a bandsaw. So, yes, I usually cut myself about twice a year. Just a little, usually a piece of wood will break or a blade will break, and it'll come up and it'll either tattoo me or I'll get a little slice. So I wash it out, I put a Band-Aid on, put a finger cut over it, and away we go. I know it looks death-defying, but no, it's really not. Big thing is you got to be careful. I do batch work, so I do the same things over and over and over again. So it's really important that you don't become complacent. Just because you get away with something a million times doesn't mean the millionth first time isn't going to bite you in the butt. I have played multiple times, hey, look for this guy's fingers at factories, and yeah. I want to keep all 10 of mine. There's only one wood that's worse than vera wood. That's purple heart, and that's what's coming up next. So the reason I lay out the mortise on each individual one is there's variations in the width of the woods that I use. Sometimes I make these 1/2 inch, sometimes I make them 5/8. So each one has a custom fit. So this is Purple Heart. This piece has not had, it had a little UV from just sitting out, but it has not gotten a lot of UV, so it's not very pink, not very purple. It's almost pinky. You can see here where it got burned. So once this gets some exposure to light, it'll get a deeper purple. You never want to store anything Purple Heart in direct daylight, sunlight, and you don't want it any place hot. Otherwise, it'll change from purple to black on you. How's it going? Well, this one I forgot to drill the center hole in, so I'm never going to hear the end of that. So let me go drill that real quick. Alright, sorry about that. So, we are going to switch blades. We're going to move to a number 7 Super Sharp by PS Woods. These are a very aggressive blade. They don't necessarily leave the best finish. They don't leave a horrible finish. Hello, 715. How's it going? So you can see how nice that cut in comparison to this side. Much better. But you can also see that Purple Heart turns brown on you. It only turns purple with heat or UV. So I am running the saw slower than I was before. See, proof that's purple. Hey King, how's it going? Welcome in. We are cutting out Turkish style drop spindles that are used to make yarn on the scroll saw. We're currently cutting Purple Heart which is one of my least favorite woods to work with. Could be worse, it could be Wenge. Hey Ronald, how's it going? Welcome in. It's just a very chill day today. I was trying to do a more quiet ASMR kind of stream, but kind of got over that. I guess I just have too much to say. From start to finish, I'm thinking probably between a half hour and 45 minutes, depending on the spindle. And I'm not including, you know, the machining the wood to get to this point. Or going to get the wood. You know, this wood's already planed, sanded, right thickness. You know, if you would add that on there, you know, it'd be even more time. So we rarely make one spindle at a time. We do a lot of batch work. So you can probably hear my girlfriend sanding in the background. We've been working together for quite a few years now, and it's been amazing. You know, and if there's like, some models have laser engraving on them, they take longer. Yeah, so my life is all about batch work. Is what we're doing here. We're just batching these out. So a couple days back, I spent most of the day on the CNC machine cutting stuff out. You know, and then there's finishing as well, you know. So I don't count that time in there because, you know, I put a mineral oil based finish on these, and so you put the oil on, and then it takes a day to dry. So. Hey Luigi, how's it going? Welcome in. We're cutting out Turkish style drop spindles. We're making yarn on the scroll saw today. Kind of a laid back day. We're being productive. Alright, now we're going to cut out this mortise. So basically we're making a big rectangle hole. Alright, give it a test fit. So yeah, this is purple heart. You can see it's got purple tones on the sides. Once you start machining it, it turns brown. The purple is a reaction with ultraviolet and with heat. So I do have one of those nail polish dome resin cures where you got the little UV light kit thing. And that works. So I can throw these in. Hour one side, hour the other side, and then they turn a lot purpler. More purple. Alright, we're down to 3 more. We got 3 full size. Cutting nice and square. So the nice thing about this style saw is they tend not to go out of square. Older scroll saws, especially like the DeWalt and Delta, they have the table that you this table here pivots, so it'll go left and right like 45 degrees. Well, the saw itself pivots around the table, so the table's always flat. So with the tilting style table, you know, if you set something down on it, eventually it'll kind of wiggle itself out of square on you. Hey, New, how's it going? Welcome in. Let's see if it fits. Ah, success. Yeah, so I check for square occasionally on these. I've got one that does have the tilting table, and yeah, you got to check it every time you're going to use it. It's just the way it is. I guess it kind of depends on what you're doing, too. I got 2 more purple heart. I'm going to grab my tea. That'll work. See how smooth that is? Now, purple heart's one of those rougher woods to cut, but that finish is awesome. I mean, that's why I use this style saw rather than, you know, cutting out on a bandsaw would be quicker. But I want to give you that nice finish. So scroll saws, amazing tool. A lot of people hate them. It's a tool that takes a little bit of getting used to. You don't set up a fence and run something through. That's not what this saw does. So when I swivel it around really quick, I'm turning it on the back of the blade, which doesn't have any teeth. And to be honest, I don't even realize I'm doing it at this point in time. Hello, sir. How's it going? Welcome in. So today we're just kind of cutting out Turkish spindles that are used to spin yarn. We're cutting them out on the scroll saw. This is my day job. I gotta keep busy. The boss is next to me. You betcha. That's my partner. Oh, she just shut off her dust collector. Hello, Jessica. Welcome in. Yeah, we've been working together for quite a few years, and it's just amazing. Get to work with my best friend every day. And there's also a lot of office work, a lot of accounting. My girlfriend has a degree in accounting, so yeah. Hey, how's it going? Welcome in. Oh, Lord, let me tell you, I am doing good. I'm finally on the mend. I'm not sick anymore. It looks like we got through the most of the cold, so yeah. So it's hard to complain. It really is. So I never thought in a bazillion years that I would be able to make a living doing this, but I'm not complaining either. Find your niche. Find something you have passion for. What you love, other people might love too, you know? Oh, yeah. Yep. The piano guy. Exactly. I remember. Nice to see ya. All right, now we're cutting red heart. So that's a natural color of the wood. Isn't it pretty? So the heartwoods, we just got done cutting some purple heart. There's yellow heart. There's red heart. And the heart just is the heartwood of the tree. So the center of the tree, that's the heartwood. And then you got sapwood on the outside. So the sapwood's not going to have this coloration to it. A lot of times it's either going to be kind of whitish or brown, depending on the tree. Here we go. So we just picked up a new show in May. It's in Chicago. It's in a big convention center. It's like a 480,000 square foot place. So we'll see how that goes. We got the show in March. Now we got one in May. And then we got one in April. I don't know, regardless. We've got a bunch of shows coming up. Oh. I was trying to figure out what was in your hand.
Oh.
Took me a while.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get the stuff together for Monday.
Oh, the sales we got already?
Make it easier.
Yeah, that'd be a lot easier. It makes perfect sense to check to make sure we got everything in inventory.
Right.
Yep.
I got standard sanded, so I can list those. I got some more lights sanded, so I can list those. Then take some pictures of the tiger maple. And then I should be able to get an update. I should be able to do an update at that point. So
Okay.
I figured I'll get that stuff at least dipped and it can be drying, so that way all we can do is laser engrave it.
So the stuff I've been making, The last couple days, I've been setting on the tables.
Yeah.
And then if it doesn't get sanded, I'll move it to bins.
If it doesn't get sanded, yeah. Well, what I did was I already pulled some of the stuff and put it in the bins, so yeah.
Alrighty.
Just because but I think what I'm going to do over the next couple of days or whatever is go through and pull, like show stuff and like pull a box and sand, a bunch and then put it on top.
Yeah.
That way it's for show. That way we know. Most of the stuff on the table is for the shops, but not all of it. So
Okay.
stuff in the bins or in the
Yeah.
boxes bins. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
So. Huh? What?
You realize I'm live streaming, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah. I just said ouch.
I was scared that ouch wasn't going to be the final thing there.
Oh, okay.
I thought you were going to start cursing.
Okay.
And we're not that kind of stream. Unless I stub my toe. Excuse me. All right, we're cutting red heart.
Top World sunflowers.
Oh, yeah, cool.
So we actually sold them.
Nice. I like those. Good to hear. Thank you, I appreciate it. I should grab a mask, but I think it kind of stuffles my voice. Stuffles. Wow. I'm good at making up words. What? Stifles, yes. But if you tongue through your nose, it could be snuffles. Just saying. Hey, Al, welcome in. We are cutting out Turkish spindles on the scroll saw and making up words. That way we can quit our jobs and start naming pharmaceuticals. Just naming pharmaceuticals, not producing pharmaceuticals. All right. So I am very lucky to live about a half hour away from a mill that carries all this exotic wood. And they also sell cutoffs. So you can go around and look at, huge pieces, 10 feet long, whatever. Or you can go buy pieces that are a couple feet long. And that's what I typically do. So that way I can get a bunch of different woods instead of having, okay, today, for the rest of the month, everything's going to be purple heart. Granted, my customers would probably like that. But it allows me to do a mix. So we are making drop spindles that are used for spinning yarn. So this is what came before the spinning wheel. All right, we'll peel off the pattern and the tape. There we go. Yeah, so the red heart dust is quite red. My fingers are going to be red for a little while. Yep, so this is our oasis of just scroll sawing. Nothing political, nothing religious. Just making stuff. No, we use a lot of different kinds of wood. We were cutting ligamente, which is kind of green. We did purple heart, red heart. I have some walnut coming up after that. So we're just doing little batches of stuff. So we are building up inventory. We have a show in Raleigh in March. So we'll be in North Carolina for that. We're located in Wisconsin, so it's a little drive. And then, as of today, we just picked up another show in May in Chicago, in a really big convention center. So we'll see how that goes. All right, we're gonna swap this blade out. We were cutting that purple heart with it. So we're going to use a Mach speed, a number 7 Mach speed. So as far as blade goes, as far as the blades go, I do like Pegasus blades. I do like Olson blades, but I really like their Mach speed and their precision ground tooth blades, the PGTs. And I like Nikwa blades that are also sold in the United States under the brand name Flying Dutchman. So those are like the 3 or 4 companies that I use most of the time. I am in North Fond du Lac. You're in Oshkosh? I've heard of that. It's that little city north of Van Dyne, right? Who am I kidding? I worked at Oshkosh Truck for almost 6 years. So for everybody else, Oshkosh is like 20 miles north of where I am. Hello, A. Welcome in. Yep, I'm in the metropolis of North Fond du Lac. I'm not bragging, but we have a Dollar General and a gas station. Well, actually, 2 gas stations. If you count the truck stop. Two of my sisters went to college in Oshkosh. I went to college in Upper Michigan, Upper Peninsula of Michigan. From Saudi Arabia? Awesome. Hello, welcome in 5301 and oh, I am from Wisconsin. So I'm in America. Oh, hey Nick, how's it going? Welcome in. How old am I? I am 51. I just turned 51. And we are making Turkish drop spindles on the scroll saw today. So these are used to spin yarn. about 1 millimeter wider. Do 1/2 millimeter on this side. And 1/4 millimeter on this side. There we go. Hello, welcome in. I am sorry I'm not up on my Cyrillic, but hello. Alright, we're going to be cutting. We have 4 more red ones, and then we'll get into the brown ones. And when we run out of those, we'll probably call it a stream. I should probably think about lunch probably in the next hour or so. So. Alright, let's see how it's looking. Pretty good. Yep, so I'm just verifying the whole center. I'm using a 1/4" rat tail bastard file, which is just fun to say. Yeah. So I'm all excited. Not really. So tomorrow I'm going to be making a video about Harbor Freight's lathe stand, which I know it seems like the best idea ever. And then we're going to trick it out a little bit. We're going to bolt some stuff, some storage on it, I think. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. What's that?
I'm gonna come with you and work on some accounting stuff.
That's fine.
Yeah, your head is like all full.
Am I red all over?
You look orange on top.
I look orange? Me? Well, I was cutting a bunch of very dyed woods. I mean,
Don't move.
don't move. You're gonna take a picture of me. Are you gonna hang it above your bed for everyone to see? Okay. Okay, take the lens cap off. That might help.
Yeah, that might help.
There we go.
Realize that, you can shut your eyes.
There's no flash, but okay.
I know. I'm just curious to see how.
I know. I'm just.
Yeah, that one turned out. The first one turned out better.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you got quite a bit of.
Sorry.
And it's red. As I get closer, it's red.
Yeah. Apparently, I've been touching the top of my head. No, that hair's gonna grow there now. It's gonna be amazing. Thanks for the Santa Claus beard. Is that a filter or what? Glad my beard's not all red.
Have you been touching your? Because now I can't. It's not coming off. I mean, it will come off.
It'll needs to be washed off.
Yeah, once you take
I
a
didn't
shower,
permanently dye it.
But I'm like, because I can't wipe. Oh, I suppose it's everywhere.
It is everywhere. Red Heart sucks that way. Yeah, my pants are all full of red. So is my shirt. That's the way I wear work clothes.
That's why I wanted to take a picture. And we'll delete it.
Sure you will. Oh, good. Yeah, because the other one, yeah. I can understand. So somebody is questioning why the shafts online don't look like the shafts on the spindles.
Right.
Well, that's because the pictures from the shafts online were taken a long time ago. And, over time, things change. You get better at what you're doing. You make them a little prettier,
Right. So I even sanded the bottoms.
Nice. Hey guys, welcome in. If you're just joining us, we are working on the scroll saw. We're cutting out Turkish drop spindles that are used to spin yarn. This is my day job. By day, I'm just a spindle maker. And then on the weekends, I become making it with Scott, and that's when I make some longer format video. It's about a secret of an identity as Super Grover had. Nobody knew who Super Grover was. I'll let you in on a secret. It was Grover. Ooh, I see RC Cola is coming out with has a zero sugar soda out. I don't know where it is. It's not around here. But I'm curious. I was never a fan of Diet Right. Diet Right to me just tasted like flat Pepsi. But if they could do a zero sugar that tastes like RC, I would be all over that. All right, we got one more to cut out after this. That's red. Then we got a bunch of black walnut ones, which I'm actually looking forward to. Getting a little red here. So I might need a little adjusting. No, it's actually good. Look at that. Muscle memory for the win. So yeah, I've been making these for like 13 years now. And this is my full-time gig. This is my life. Living the dream. We'll put it that way. But yeah, so if you wanted to give me a follow, my other videos, I do some review videos, but most of it is beginner to intermediate woodworking stuff. So, hello, A, welcome in. So we are making Turkish spindles that are used to spin yarn. So right now we're cutting out the arms. Let me grab one that's put together. So here's one that is assembled. And that one's not sanded yet. Yeah, that's what we're making. Making 3 different sizes. Hey, thanks. Yep, this is one of those very niche items. So it'd be nice being done with the red heart. Is that foam? I don't think there's any foam here. Or wood. This is wood. This is red heart. So this wood comes from Africa. Not sure which countries in Africa. There we go. So yeah, the sawdust is very stainy. The spindle itself will not be. Once it gets a finish on it, it's fine. So we're making drop spindles for spinning yarn. All right. So now we're moving over to some walnut. Yeah, I get it. Spinning yarn's amazing, though. Yeah. It could. It would give you a Band-Aid cut. It's not going to cut your finger off or anything. It would smart. Try that again. Yeah, typically, if you do get cut, you go wash it out and put a Band-Aid on it. I usually cut myself about twice a year. Usually a blade will break or a piece of wood will snap. Yep, so we just cut a mortise into the middle. So now we'll take the pattern off. The pattern is just blue painter's tape, and then we use spray adhesive to glue a paper pattern to the top. So this way I get a clean pattern on every single one. So at this point, we already have a center hole drilled. So everything is built around that center hole. So you may notice when I'm going around these curves here, I'm planting my thumb and using it as a pivot point. So, yeah. At the angle that the camera's on, it makes my hands look closer than they are to the blade. Don't get me wrong, my fingers are close. When you buy the saw, it does come with a big hold down foot. It'll stick way out. But it would get in the way of all the cuts I'm making. When you first start out, it's a great thing to have. But after you know what you're doing, they tend to get thrown away. So we are making Turkish drop spindles for spinning yarn. So this is what came before the spinning wheel. So all the offcuts, all these little bits that are coming off, I burn those. I use them as kindling. And when the logs start dying down, the stuff is really dry, so you can just throw it on there and poof. So, very grateful to have a fireplace last few days. She's been cold Friday. It was like negative 19 here. Makes it a little less taxing on the furnace. Nah, Band-Aid cuts. it's just one of those things. I've been scroll sawing since 1987, and my grandfather was a bird carver. He was a wood carver, so he'd go to shows and festivals and stuff. So I used to dream about being able to, cut stuff out in the scroll saw and sell it. As dumb as that is, it was the early, it was the late '80s. We didn't have. We, my parents' house, they still don't have cable out there. We didn't have the internet or anything. I had books, and living out in the country, I had a lot of time. So everything just kind of fell into place. Been carving a fox? Nice. Are you carving it by hand, or are you using rotary tools, or just curious? Well, depending on how big your carvings are, you probably would be better with a bandsaw, to be honest. You're not going to be able to get the detail out of it, but it'd be able to cut out bigger pieces of wood. The throat depth is like 2 inches is what the cutting depth is. So, unless you only make really tiny things, bandsaw would probably be better for you. Cut a branch down, that'll work. Absolutely. Yep, definitely check out some hand carving videos about how you hold the tool, because yeah, you can do a number on yourself with that. Right. Enjoy the process, I never thought I'd fall into this, I wanted to make stuff. When I was 12, I'm like, oh, I can make a living off, cutting out, little ornamental things that people would like. And, when Etsy first started up, I've been on Etsy since, I think, 2008. Yeah, it gave me the opportunity to sell some stuff, which was nice. And yeah, I just kind of fell into this. Yeah, to me, this is just zen. It's just something I can shut my brain off. Okay, we're a little snug. We're getting there. You know, you don't want to make it too wide, so it's always better to be a little bit on the tight side. You can always make it bigger. Making it smaller, not so much. So I'm just going to go to my pencil lines, the outside of them. So that hole is just about a millimeter wider than it was. There we go. Hey, RG3, how's it going? Welcome in. Yeah, the first thing I did when I bought a house is I built a workshop, you know, in the garage. First thing I bought was a scroll saw. So I didn't have to go to my parents' house. Let's see. You've been Hash says I've been collecting fat wood for a while. Banning it for time. I'm trying to collect free candles for wax to melt to make fire starters with the spare cutoffs. Yes, that's a great way to use up some sawdust. Depends on how much sawdust you're making. Hey Saber, how's it going? Welcome in. Good to see you again. Let me pull up a picture of my wax starters. Ow, my fire starters. I think I took a picture of them. I make way more sawdust than I can make fire starters. I put it on Facebook. Yeah, so these are the ones I make. I just use those little paper cups that people used to put in the bathrooms in the 80s. Little Dixie cups. Some people like to use those little ketchup cups, the ones that you can fold apart. I don't know, these burn for about 15 minutes. And I just make them for myself. And they work real nice. I really like them. You know, I see people like put like little bits of pine cones and flowers on the top of them to try to dress them up so they could sell them for more. Pine hearts. Oh, I bet. Right. Turpentine's your friend. Yeah, so the fireplace at home, what we do is we'll use a fire starter. And we'll use wax paper. We print shipping labels on those 4x6 thermal labels that have the wax paper underneath. So we put the wax paper down, the kindling on top of that, and does a really good job. It almost feels like cheating because you just light that and walk away and your fire's going. So yeah, all the little scrap is going into a 5-gallon bucket underneath the saw. When that gets full, I dump it into a big bin. When the bin gets full, I take it home and burn it. With a cold snap or the last, well, we burned for like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and went through like 3 bins, plus logs. So. And I think I've got another 3 in the back yet, so we got plenty of scrap to burn. All right, we got 3 more little ones to cut out, and then we're going to call it a stream. Need to get some lunch in me. So I really don't have a streaming schedule. I I've been streaming a little more lately. If you want to make sure to catch my streams, subscribing and ringing the bell would be the best way of doing it so you get notified. If not, you know, that's up to you. I think we'll just cut out the remaining 3 and then come back. Hey BG, how's it going? I'm doing great. We're just finishing up the stream. Unfortunately, we got a few more to go here. Then I need to get some lunch. Hello and welcome in. So we're cutting black walnut right now. Well, if you use the paper cups, you know, they're wax paper, so they'll hold the flame a lot easier. So what I usually do is I'll tear the corner of the cup so I get like a little tag sticking out, and I'll light that. And by the time it gets down to the wax, it's hotter and it does a good job. Good to hear. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to make fried rice. We did bring eggs to the shop today, and I do have rice here, and soy sauce and butter and all that fun stuff. Or I could probably talk myself into, you know, hitting a drive-through. Hey AJ, how's it going? Welcome in. So we're just cutting little mortises in the center there. There we go. This walnut is really pretty. So this is the non-steamed walnut, which sounds silly. People will steam walnut in order to make the sapwood look more like the heartwood. So they're trying to make the wood that's normally a lighter color into a darker color. Wendy's #2, no veggies. It does sound good. Hey Wilson, welcome in. Fortunately, the stream is just about done. We're gonna have to take a break. I need to go get some food or make some food. Diabetic Scott is like, dude, you better eat. So we gotta listen to him. All right, so yeah, I would like to thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Like I said, I don't have a schedule, but I do stream probably 3 to 4 times a week. Subscribing and ringing the bell is the best way to make sure you catch it. Or you can just bump into me, you know. This might do it. All right, guys, we got all that stuff cut out. I'll show you what we got cut out today. It's pretty amazing. We got these all cut out, and we also make shafts on the stream, so we're doing good. So, all right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll catch you next time. You know, be careful, be kind to people. It doesn't cost you anything, and you know, it might make somebody's day. All right, have a good one.